doesn't sound right. Oh, good gracious, that's even worse.
Is everything all right? I thought you were going to crash or something.
Or something. Dear me, this is harder than I imagined.
Well, you got us away from Gallifrey.
Eh? Oh yes, I suppose I did. But I feel now that was more by luck than by judgment.
What seems to be the problem, Grandfather?
Oh, everything, child. Everything.
It can't be all that bad, can it?
Well, let's consider the facts, shall we? When we left Gallifrey, I got us into the vortex. And I planned for us to stay here in temporal orbit just until I'd mastered the controls. Yes? But it's been over 3 days now, and I still don't feel as if I'm making any progress.
What about the ship's manual?
Well, What was that?
The ship's manual?
You mean to say there's a ship's manual?
Oh, yes, of course. I imagine every time travel capsule has one. It's quite interesting, really.
And you've seen this document?
Yes. Well, you seemed so busy and I felt it was just in the way. So, I took the manual to my room to read up on the ship. I thought it might be useful for me to know about it too.
Oh, for pity's sake, child. Here's me struggling to make sense of this confounded contraption. All the time you've been sitting on the answers. Go and fetch it at once.
I'm sorry, Grandfather. I didn't think.
Just fetch the book, child. Dear me.
I really am very sorry, Grandfather.
Yes, I know, Susan, I know. Right, to work. Well, this will surely help.
Is there anything I can do?
Well, I suppose it might be helpful if you looked things up for me.
So, where do we start?
From the beginning, Susan. From the beginning.
Well, that's everything, Grandfather. Do you think you're ready to try again?
I suppose I could give it a go.
Oh, Grandfather, you don't sound too confident. Do you think you should wait a little longer? We could read through the manual again.
I don't think so, no. Think about it, child. We can't stay in the vortex forever, you know. Eventually the ship would be ripped apart. No, I have to try it sooner or later. It might as well be now. Now we need something simple as a test. A fixed point. Well, this is it. The moment of truth.
Is it safe?
Well, no, and yes. Just think about it for a moment. All space-time travel can be hazardous. But we have the protection of a capsule. However, it might be wise to hold on to something.
It's working! Oh, it's working! Well done, Grandfather! I knew you could do it!
Save the congratulations until we land in one piece. Yes, on course. A little adjustment to the helmic regulator to take time eddies into consideration. And now... Well, we've arrived.
But where are we?
Patience, child, patience. The answer to that question lies beyond those doors. Now, in environment checks. Yes, seems safe enough. We can go out now.
And there could be anything out there. I'm scared. Do we really have to go outside?
Well, we have left our own world behind. All that was familiar. This is our life now, to be wanderers in the fourth dimension. There could be any number of terrible things beyond those doors, and many wonderful things as well. But we shall face all of them together, you and me. You do trust me, don't you, Susan?
Of course, Grandfather. Of course I do.
Well then, open the doors.
What is this place? It looks like a castle. Did you intend for us to come here, Grandfather?
Well, I need to see a little more of the place to be entirely certain.
Oh no! Why did the ship change into that shape?
Well, bless my soul. An Iron Maiden. Oh, nothing to be worried about, my child.
Yes, I know. It isn't really an Iron Maiden, but think about it. They put people inside them to torture them. It's cruel and barbaric. Why would anybody want to treat someone else like that?
Sadly, my dear, some primitive cultures seem to rely on such deterrence.
I understand the reasons, but it's still rather beastly.
And that's a good thing. Because a strong deterrent is exactly what we need. The last thing we want is someone trying to get inside the ship. Right. Well, let's have a look down this corridor, shall we?
Oh, there's a window. Perhaps we can work out when we are.
What can you see?
There's a few people down by the river, and a number of boats.
Let me see, child. Yes, well, I'd say from the clothing of the people, the Tudor period. Well, my calculations were correct. Do you know, my dear, I think I recognize that view from my research. It's the River Thames. And I think this must be the Tower of London itself.
The Tower of London? Oh, no. Didn't you tell me it was where the kings of England used to execute their enemies?
Yes, the very place.
Oh, how terrible. Well, that explains why the ship disguised itself as an Iron Maiden. Oh, let's just go, Grandfather.
My dear child, we're standing in history itself. Isn't there even the slightest part of you that wishes to explore? To learn about it firsthand?
Of course I do, but these are such violent times. I worry that something awful will happen.
Yes, I understand your concern. Well, we'll just have to be very careful, won't we? Let's go back to the ship and see if we can find something suitable to wear. We should try and blend in a little.
Good idea. Well, how do I look?
Very fetching, my dear, very fetching.
So, what do we do now?
Well, we could start by exploring this castle and see what more we can find out.
You're really quite excited about this, aren't you, Grandfather?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. This is a dream come true, Susan. To stand in the midst of history, to see it unfold before my very eyes. Wonderful, wonderful.
Grandfather, did you hear that?
Eh? I didn't hear anything.
It's coming from down there.
Now don't run off, child. So what have you discovered?
Listen, there seems to be people out there.
Well, who are you, lass?
She is my granddaughter, sir.
Well, that's as may be, sir. But who are you?
That information I shall impart to someone in authority, and not a mere yeoman of the guard.
As you please. You can tell it to Sir Edmund. Ah, and here he comes.
He doesn't look very friendly.
My dear child, I'd be very surprised if he did. I imagine he's the Lieutenant of the Tower.
How can you tell?
Observation and deduction, child. Dear, dear. Judging by the quality of his clothing and his air of authority, he's either an important visitor or the man in charge of security here. In either case, I imagine he's not a man to be trifled with.
You men, return to your work. Now, who are you, sir, and how came you here?
My apologies, sir, if we catch you unprepared, but that was partly my intent. This is my granddaughter.
Explain yourself, sir. I consider myself to have the wits, but put it plainly, if you please.
Do I take it that I am addressing the Lieutenant of the Tower?
You have that honour, yes. I am Sir Edmund Walsingham.
Your servant, sir. As I understand the matter, it pleases King Henry that this venerable stronghold be employed as the royal armoury. The other palaces in London and hereabouts more suited as royal residences. For although the curtain wall of the castle itself has been somewhat repaired, still the fortifications leave a lot to be desired.
In truth, that would seem to be the shape of things. So what of it?
Why, my dear sir, that's why I'm here. To survey the necessary improvements and report to the king.
This seems odd, for I resolved to put together a report on the state of the walls myself, for it seems to me that they would not stand up well to cannon shot.
Oh, come now, Sir Edmund. Can the king not arrange things for himself, even to keeping a matter secret for a time from a favourite?
In truth, the king may do as he will. Well, you have satisfied me on one point, sir, but tell me, who are you? For your name has been lacking so far in this conversation.
Oh, really? Haven't I said? Well, that's most remiss of me. I go by Doctor. But now let me present my granddaughter, the Lady Susan.
Charmed, I'm sure. I thought I was familiar with most of the nobles, but I am certain we have never met.
Oh, that's unsurprising, as I have spent most of my life abroad, as it were.
Indeed? Where, sir? Perhaps I know the place, for as a young man I was engaged abroad as a soldier.
Oh, I feel certain you wouldn't know it. Have you heard of Gallifrey?
In truth, I have not. So you have holdings in Ireland?
A modest living, yes, but anyway, we're taking up too much of your valuable time, Sir Edmund.
Not at all, not at all. You and the Lady Susan shall consider yourselves my guests. Ah, but it is time to take supper. Will you not join me?
That's most gracious of you, sir. Most gracious.
Come, we shall return to my lodgings. Did you enjoy the meal, Lady Susan?
Oh, yes, it was marvellous. I've never had pheasant before.
Ah, yes. They're not as yet as common in Ireland as they are here. Well, I hope this delicacy has shown you that I have been a good host. Now, my Lord Doctor, I shall be interested to see your report on the tower defences.
Eh? Oh, yes, of course, you would, wouldn't you? But I'm afraid that's quite impossible.
You surprise me, sir, and frankly, you disappoint me.
Well, I meant no offence. You see, lacking the services of a secretary, I shall content myself with making a verbal report to His Majesty. Trust me when I say that this will prove sufficient.
I see. Well, let us hope your words carry weight with His Grace. As things stand, I am expected at court tomorrow. The festivities for the King's marriage to the Lady Catherine today will continue for some days yet. You may both ride with me. Have you horses?
Alas, Sir Edmund, you find us ill prepared.
Pay it no mind. The stables here at the tower are well stocked. Though I must say that I find it most surprising that you travel in this manner, especially with a young girl in your company.
Oh, be assured it was not my intention, but the result of a number of misadventures. But like yourself, good Sir Edmund, Susan and I are determined to fulfil the royal command.
Well, the sentiment does you credit, sir. Ah, we have talked long, and the night is upon us. Let me show you to a room. The accommodation here is somewhat lacking, but I hope you can take a few hours' rest in some small comfort. It would be good if we set out early for court. You can take your rest here. But what is this? It is a strange box, and no mistake.
Forgive me, Sir Edmund. I must confess that the Lady Susan and I brought it here.
You, my Lord Doctor? But it is a most curious thing. It has the face of a woman, but it seems to have a sinister air. And made of metal?
Ah, that is because it is an instrument of torture. You see, you put some criminal inside, and then you wind in a number of iron spikes, which pierce the body of the victim.
I never heard tell of such a thing. Is it from the Turks?
Eh? Oh, yes, very probably.
But why would you have such a thing, and why bring it here?
My dear Sir Edmund, think about it. It has been His Majesty's pleasure to send a number of important prisoners here over the last few years, yes? Imagine the effect this instrument of torture would have on a newly arrived prisoner. They'd probably confess their crimes in a heartbeat.
Perhaps. But I fancy the rack is still most effective.
Well, if you don't want our gift.
A gift, you say? Well, that is most gracious of you. I would like to see how it works. Perhaps if you would open it up?
Ah, sadly, no. That won't be possible.
How so?
We need a special key, which we left at home.
Oh, regrettable. Well, I shall leave you to your rest. Sleep well. I shall see you on the morrow.
Thank you, Sir Edmund. And good night to you.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought that meal would never end.
I thought you enjoyed it. You certainly gave that impression to Sir Edmund.
The food was nice, but Sir Edmund is a boring man. All that talk about court life. But what a stroke of luck bringing us back to the ship. Oh, please, let's go, Grandfather. We've seen Tudor England now. Let's go somewhere else.
Just a moment, child. We've spent a few brief hours here. Hardly enough time to really form an impression of the place and its people.
Explore if you want to, Grandfather, but can't I just stay in the ship? I'd feel much happier.
And if you do so, how do I explain your disappearance to Sir Edmund? Besides, we're to go with him to Hampton Court tomorrow. Or have you forgotten so soon?
Of course not. But that's what worries me. People are sure to know that your story isn't true, especially the king. The moment Sir Edmund talks to him about us, he'll say he doesn't know us, and then we'll be in trouble.
My dear child, you're not giving me much credit for my powers of persuasion, are you? It took very little to convince Sir Edmund I was working for the king. I shall find a way to convince the king, but I am his most loyal servant.
To be honest, I'm quite surprised you picked this period, Grandfather. You've always said that your favourite era of Earth history was the French Revolution.
And so indeed it is, my dear. But as an era of great upheaval, it also has many, many moments that are so fragile that time itself could be quite easily twisted out of shape or even unravel entirely. I just didn't want to take the risk on our first excursion.
Oh, I see. Well, we wouldn't want to change anything and break the first law of time.
Indeed not. And because we are inexperienced travellers, I thought it best to choose a moment of fixed time. Henry VIII was one of the most pig-headed men that ever walked this planet, and as a king, he had the power to set his decisions in stone. In a sense, you might say he created fixed time around himself. I couldn't be entirely sure when and where we'd end up, but the result is better than I'd hoped for. It's the 12th of July, 1543, and that's good.
Is it? I didn't realise that date was special.
Well, of course it is. Really, child, weren't you paying attention to Sir Edmund's talk during supper, eh? Henry married Catherine Parr, his last wife, today at a private ceremony in the chapel at Hampton Court Palace. This gives us precise data. It's one of the most important moments in Henry's own timeline, and that of the nation. So it's about as fixed time can be. Now, try and get some rest. We've got a very long day ahead of us.
Good night, Grandfather.
Yes, good night, my dear. Good night. Susan! Susan! Oh, where is the child?
Good morning.
Oh, there you are. Good morning, my dear. Are you ready for today's excursion?
Not really. I keep worrying that we won't be able to get back to the ship after our trip to Hampton Court.
A mere detail, my dear. One that needn't worry us for the moment. Our more pressing concern is to ensure that Sir Edmund Walsingham continues to think of us as the King's agents. Now, we best be going. The Lieutenant of the Tower doesn't strike me as the sort of fellow who takes too kindly to late arrivals.
Horse horse riding. Oh, it's going to take us ages to get there. Didn't you say Hampton Court is about 20 miles from here?
I did indeed, yes. Average speed of 4 miles an hour. It should take us about 5 hours. So, as you say, ages.
Oh, grandfather, we can't ride for that long.
Well, Susan, we're going to have to. If it's any consolation, I expect we'll stop for lunch along the way. Oh, watch yourself. Here comes Sir Edmund.
Well met, Lord Doctor. I looked for you earlier. I hoped we'd take breakfast together.
Oh, good morning, Sir Edmund. Morning. My apologies. Susan did not sleep too well. It's no doubt the excitement of going to court.
Ah, yes, what maiden wouldn't be overcome at the prospect? Well, we should away. It is a long journey. It is a fair day, Lord Doctor.
And one that will no doubt have one or two surprises, I'm sure.
Surprises, you say? How so, my friend?
Oh, nothing. Pay it no mind. Just the musings of an old man.
And here we are. Hampton Court Palace. What say you, Doctor? Is it not a goodly space?
Ah, yes, most impressive. Most impressive.
William, take the horses to the stables.
By your leave, Sir Edmund.
Now, Lord Doctor, you shall see a court that rivals those of France and Spain. Thomas, what do you mean by this?
By your leave, Sir Edmund.
Why have you left your post at the tower? I'll have you flogged, you dog.
It's the tower, Sir Edmund. The tower is on fire.
On fire? By God. We must return forthwith. What caused it?
The kegs of gunpowder. It was about an hour after you left. It made a mighty blaze. I think the fire is under control now, but I thought it was wise to bring you back. I need a fresh horse. I fear I've pushed this one so hard that I could catch up with you.
You did right. I must survey the extent of the damage. William, change of plan. We return to the tower. Fetch a fresh horse for Thomas.
Sir Edmund, greetings.
Oh, Matthew, what say you?
Well met, Sir Edmund. You are most welcome at court.
Would that I could stay. There has been a fire at the tower. I must return forthwith. I expect I shall return some days hence.
I see. Then travel well.
Excuse me, Lord Doctor, but I must return to the tower. I will see you upon my return.
Oh, yes, of course, Sir Edmund, of course. Farewell.
William, Thomas, let us away.
What are we going to do now, grandfather?
May I be of service? I should be happy to take you in.
Oh, that's most kind of you, Matthew, wasn't it?
Forgive me, my lord, but your face is unfamiliar. May I ask, is this your first time at court?
Oh, yes, Matthew, yes. We're not long arrived from,
From Ireland.
I see. Well, you're most welcome. I must leave you now. I have to attend the king.
But of course. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you.
It's so crowded. Not like I imagined at all.
Well, yes, anyone who's anyone wants to be at court. Being a courtier is all about being in the right place at the right time to gain favor. If not from the king directly, then from one of his officials.
Isn't it terrible about the fire at the tower? Grandfather, do you think the ship will be all right? Oh, I know that look. Oh, Grandfather, you didn't.
What? Cause a little explosion? Well, of course it was me, child. I needed a way to get rid of Sir Edmund, and the only thing to keep him away from court was the catastrophe at the tower. Oh, don't worry, I was very careful in rigging the explosion. We shouldn't have done too much damage, and the stores of gunpowder were well aware from where we'd parked the ship anyway. I'm just a little surprised it took that yeoman of the guard so long to catch up to us. I was beginning to think my timer had failed. Well, it didn't, and everything's gone according to plan. So, now we can rest easy for a little while. Right, let's savour some of the delights of Hampton Court, shall we?
My, but who is that girl? Matthew, a moment.
Your Majesty?
Look over yonder. She is a fair maiden and no mistake, is she not?
Your Grace has a keen eye.
Yes, a pretty little thing. Tell me, whose daughter is she?
I know not, sire, but she is the granddaughter of the old man talking to Sir Thomas.
The old man, you say? I have not seen him at court before. Who is he?
I don't rightly know, Your Grace. I think he has landed in Ireland. He seems to be friends with Sir Edmund Walsingham. Indeed, they arrived together.
A friend of Walsingham, you say? Then he must be a man of good character. Why has he not been presented?
Apologies, Your Grace. An oversight.
Have him approach.
The Lord Doctor and his granddaughter, the Lady Susan.
Welcome to the court, Lord Doctor.
Your Majesty does us a great honour. I trust your Grace is well?
I have a new bride. I should hope I am. Mind you, I've had practice, have I not? I got 6 wives. Would any man entertain such a thing?
Ah, but your Majesty is not any man. All England wishes your Majesty and Queen Catherine health and prosperity.
So, I understand you have land in Ireland.
Eh? Oh, yes. Something rather modest, tucked out of the way, but it supports me and Susan well enough.
Ah, yes, your granddaughter. Tell me, girl, what do you think of life at court?
It's all very jolly, Your Majesty. But I'm a bit overwhelmed, if I'm honest.
Yes, I suppose it can be, for such a shy maiden as yourself. So, Lord Doctor, As I understand it, you know Sir Edmund Walsingham.
Oh, yes, sire, a very capable man, and your Majesty's most loyal servant.
I keep my own counsel on who is loyal, Lord Doctor. But, in truth, it is my own measure of the man. Sir Edmund has given us good service. It does you credit to speak well of your friend. And where, pray tell, is Walsingham? He should have presented you to me himself.
May it please your grace, he was recalled to the tower on urgent business, but promises to return some day hence.
I see. Well, I shall not dwell further on the matter. So, Lord Doctor, how long do you intend in staying at court?
Oh, I really couldn't say, Your Majesty. Susan and I travel about a lot.
I'm not sure that it is good of a girl of her age and breeding to be carted about from place to place like a sack of grain going to market.
I don't mind.
You don't mind? Well, you're a spirited young wench, I must say. Now, Lord Doctor, let us consider this matter closely. The girl is in your care, is she not?
Yes, indeed, sire. Her parents are, well, I suppose you say they're gone.
And you are a man well on in years. You need to consider her future.
Oh, believe me, Your Majesty, I always do.
Grandfather?
Not now, Susan. My apologies, Your Grace. You were saying?
Then consider this, sir. She can stay here. Your granddaughter shall stay at court as a lady-in-waiting. Yes, that seems a fine plan. I shall give her to Queen Catherine, another wedding present. I dare say Lady Joan could use the help. Well, what do you say, Lord Doctor?
Oh, but Your Majesty, think about it. My granddaughter, I'm all the family she has. I couldn't part from her. I'm sure you understand.
Of course. Never let it be said that I am not a generous master.
Eh? What? I'm not sure I follow.
Of course, you must stay too. I would not think of separating the two of you. I always have space at court for a man grown old in wisdom. Now, what say you?
Oh, you're very gracious, Your Majesty. But I really don't know.
Excellent. Well, Matthew, you can see to the arrangements.
By your leave, sire.
Come closer, girl. Now, have you served as lady-in-waiting before?
No, I'm afraid not.
So it would seem. Afraid not... What?
Oh, sorry. I'm afraid not, Your Majesty.
That's better.
Very seldom I expect, Your Majesty.
And I understand this is your first time at court. I remember mine. I must confess, it can be somewhat overwhelming, but worry not, it will soon become second nature to you. So, who are your family? Where are you from?
The House of Loughborough, from Gallifrey.
I see. I've never heard tell nor either of your family of your lands. But I suppose this is a little surprise, for I do not know the Irish that well, to tell you the truth. Well, His Majesty must think you worthy of the task, or else he would not have given you to me. There are many duties to perform, and you shall have little time to master them. Now, go with Lady Joan, who has my trust, and she shall show you what is expected of you. Matthew, you may tell His Majesty that I accept the Lady Susan as my lady-in-waiting. In truth, she seems such a timid creature, but that is of a small note. Lady Joan will help her. You have leave to go.
Thank you, my lady.
Well, well, Lord Doctor, I'm fair glad I decided to keep you here at court. In these past 2 days since you have arrived, you have shown a mind to rival my wisest advisors.
Your Majesty does me a great honor. But I hope your advisors will not feel their noses put out of joint, so to speak.
Oh, now, good doctor, you betray your unfamiliarity with protocol. All that matters here, and throughout my realm, is the king's good pleasure.
Ah, yes, but of course, sire. Your Majesty teaches me a useful lesson.
Ah, what say you, Matthew?
By your leave, sire, the Duke of Norfolk craves your indolence.
Ah, yes. Well, he has waited a long time. Let him approach. Lord Doctor, you have leave to go.
Thank you, sire.
Lord Doctor, you seem distracted. Is anything wrong?
Eh? Oh, I was thinking about my granddaughter. I would dearly love to see her, make sure she's all right and so forth.
Well, her duties for the Queen keep her very busy, but I'm sure you could have a few moments.
A few moments? Well, if that were possible, I dare say I could say to Susan everything that is on my mind.
Oh, Grandfather, it's so good to see you. I'm surprised I managed to get away at all. I never get a moment's peace. If I'm not with Queen Catherine, I have to perform little duties for her. It's really become all rather boring. Can't we leave?
I wish it were so simple, my child.
But Lady Joan told me that there can be 1,000 courtiers here when the king is in residence. So surely, with all these people wandering about, we can just slip away.
We're in the very centre of Tudor government here. We can't just wander in and out as we please. But we'll have to do something quick, because Henry wants to introduce me to an Irish nobleman, and then our fraud will be exposed. Thankfully, the fellow hasn't arrived at court yet.
Oh, Grandfather, we should never have agreed to come here.
Well, I won round Sir Edmund quite easily. I think that made me rather overconfident. Henry and his officials will not be so easily swayed. Oh, this predicament is all very vexing. Yes, but you must admit, we have learned a lot about Tudor England along the way. That's something, I suppose.
Oh, no. See, over there? That woman waving at me? That's Lady Joan. I'll have to go back. I expect Queen Catherine wants me for something. Goodbye for now, Grandfather.
Yes, goodbye, Susan. Yes, well, we really are in a pretty pickle, aren't we? Susan! Susan!
Grandfather, what are you doing here?
It's a banquet, child. Everyone who's anyone is here. And I seem to have Henry's favour. Well, at least for the moment. Now, we haven't got long, child. So listen carefully. According to Matthew, the Irish nobleman is due to arrive at court tonight. And then the game's up. So we must leave here as soon as possible.
Oh, Grandfather, how can we? We've been trapped here for the last 3 days. Every hour of the day accounted for, and every movement watched. It's impossible.
Calm yourself, my dear, calm yourself.
But it's not just escaping from the palace, is it? We need to get back to the Tower of London.
Oh, really, child, don't you think I know that? The Tower is the least of our problems. The Tower. Susan, the Tower.
Yes, Grandfather, the Tower.
Hey, what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, my lord, but I need to leave the Great Hall, and you're in the doorway.
Oh, yes, so I am. Well, what's that you've got there?
Just scraps, my lord. Forgive me, but I must attend to my duties.
Just wait there a moment, young man. Susan, I've had an idea. It's risky, but it might just work. You do trust me, don't you?
Of course I do. Oh no, Lady Joan is waving at me. I must return to the Queen Catherine's side.
Perfect. The king has invited me to sit at his table. So watch me closely and follow my lead.
But it's all very public here. Wouldn't you rather wait?
Aren't you forgetting the Irish nobleman? And just worry. I saw Sir Edmund Walsingham arrive in the lower courtyard about 5 minutes ago. So it's now or never. Right. Back to Queen Catherine with you.
By your leave, my lord, I must away.
But of course. But leave the platter with me.
Leave the platter? But I don't understand.
That hardly matters now, does it, my boy? You're probably told to do 101 things a day that you don't understand. So why should this be any different, eh? Now be off with you. This should do very well indeed. If it goes wrong, it'll be the end for me, and for Susan too. But if it succeeds, well, it will be the story of a lifetime. Yes, indeed.
And here comes your new lady-in-waiting.
Ah, there you are, Susan. You should not be away from my side when I appear in public. Where were you?
I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I was just talking to my grandfather.
Family is important, but your duty comes first.
Yes, my lady.
Oh, don't scold the child, Catherine. The Lord Doctor is a great asset to the court. Would that all my courtiers have such learning. But where is the fellow? I would have him join us.
May it please your majesty, I see him not. I think he may have left.
Left? Left? No one leaves until the king himself leaves. What discourtesy is this?
Forgive me, sire. Perhaps I am mistaken.
Then away and find the fellow, Matthew.
As it pleases your majesty.
This behavior seems strange. The Lord Doctor has been a most pleasing servant in these last 3 days. Whatever has come over him. Ah, here comes Sir Edmund. Let us hope he brings news to soothe my temper. Walsingham, what say you?
By your leave, sire. There was a fire at the tower and I had to return and oversee the repairs. My apologies for my late attendance. Oh, the Lady Susan.
She is my new lady-in-waiting.
Your Majesty does her much honour.
Which is more than her grandfather does me. Where is the fellow?
May it please your Majesty, but he approaches.
Oh, and about time, too. But what's that the fellow is carrying? What is the meaning of your conduct, sir? Your absence was unwarranted. And why do you manhandle that platter like a kitchen boy?
Oh, well, Your Grace, I thought I'd bring along a little something on which to ponder.
Plate of scraps? What jest is this? I cannot catch the meaning.
Oh, not a jest, sire, but a metaphor.
What can the fellow mean? I thought your Majesty said he had a mind to rival your best advisors.
And I stand by it, my dear. Come now, Doctor. The Queen is anxious to learn the meaning of this gesture, as indeed am I.
Well, let's see what we have here, shall we? Yes, some scraps of venison. Yes, some rabbit. Oh, beef. Oh, yes, and chicken. And wouldn't you say, Your Majesty, that all this is no more than a dog's dinner?
In faith it is, Doctor. And what of it?
Well, I'd say it's a fitting metaphor for the country. It's an utter shambles. It's neither one thing nor the other. It's a carcass that the other kings of Europe would pick over if chance arose.
This is no jest, sir.
Oh, I didn't say it was for your amusement. Rather, it's a sobering lesson.
An hour past you were my good servant, sharing your knowledge, and now this change leaves me perplexed. Has someone bewitched you? Perhaps you have lost your senses in faith. I know that it can happen to the old. More's the pity.
No, I've more wit than you can ever know.
Have a care, Doctor. You are addressing your sovereign lord.
Ha! You expect me to be impressed, do you? He is a lord for a brief span, whereas I am a lord of time.
The man's gone mad.
Well, aren't you going to thank me for my gift?
A plate of scraps? Here's what I think to your gift.
A parson's nose? What an interesting choice. Thank you, but no thank you. You can keep it.
You dare assault the king's person? Guards, attend his majesty.
Wretch! Traitor! Vile creature!
This man has insulted his majesty.
A man you brought into my cult, Walsingham.
1,000 apologies, your grace. Forgive me, but his conduct surprises me as much as it does your majesty.
The man should be removed. His presence is offensive.
Grandfather!
Be still, girl, and be thankful you do not share his fate.
We attach no blame to you, child. Sometimes madness claims the old in a manner we cannot grasp.
You're horrible, feeding yourself like a great fat pig. I'm pleased he threw that parson's nose at you.
Foolish girl. You condemn yourself.
Take them. Take them both. Take them to the tower.
As you wish, sire. Guards! Make way. Prisoners under escort.
Well, that's done it.
Grandfather?
No talking.
Well, good riddance. And a plague upon them. What? Is this not a kingly feast? Musicians, strike up. I would have you play something to cheer my mood. And will someone take away these scraps?
William, take the horses. Thomas, you go with him.
But, sir, what of the prisoners?
I'm more than a match for an old fool and a slip of a girl. However, I shall take no chances. Now, you two, walk ahead of me and no nonsense.
Come along, Susan. Let's see our new lodgings.
Silence! And to think I took you for a man of honour.
Well, appearances can be deceiving.
I know not how long the king's displeasure will keep you here, but certainly long enough for you to throw yourselves upon his majesty's mercy.
The mercy of Henry VIII? Huh. Pigs might fly. I'm sure he doesn't know the meaning of mercy, so he won't get any satisfaction from me.
Stubborn old fool. Then you'll no doubt stay here until your dying day. But think on, Doctor. What of the Lady Susan? Have a care for her.
If Grandfather must stay forever, So will I.
Well, you have made your choice, both of you. Well, inside, both of you. Ah, yes. The Turkish chest. Once we have the key, perhaps it may please His Majesty for you to be put inside and feel the deadly embrace of this maiden of iron. Maybe then you'll come back to your senses. Perhaps just being in the room with it will be enough to put such fear into your hearts that you beg for the king's forgiveness.
Grandfather.
Just a moment, child. I'm writing a note to Henry. There, that should do it. I wanted to know that he played right into my hands. Not many people can say they got the better of Henry VIII. He'll be absolutely furious. Well, come on, child. We haven't got all night, you know.
Oh, what a relief. It's so good to be back in the ship. Well, aren't we going to take off?
Patience, child, patience. Yes, I think that's right.
Oh, do hurry, Grandfather.
Oh, don't rush me, child. We're perfectly safe, my dear. There's nothing in this time and place that could possibly get through those doors. Ah. In any case, the job's done. I hope.
Well, I hope we never visit Tudor England ever again. That was truly awful. Actually, it's all rather sad. I thought the king would have been a jolly sort of person.
I'm not sure if Henry was ever truly happy. He had many problems ruling his kingdom, difficulties in his marriages, and his health was pretty poor. In a little over 3 years' time, he'll be dead at 55, with his hopes of establishing a dynasty dashed. Tudors only held the throne until 1603.
And then came the Stuarts. Well, they didn't last very long either.
Yeah, it's often the way of things for monarchies.
So, where to next?
Didn't I say? Oh, how remiss of me. Well, let's just say, my dear, it's a place you've always wanted to visit.